I'm Barbara Ann Wright, and I will be your moderator here, where we probe all the nooks and crannies of our fabulous readers to find out what makes them buy books so that we can hypnotize everybody else to buy books too. I think we should let our readers themselves tell you just a little tiny bit about who they are. So I'm going to pick on them one at a time. And first I'm going to choose Chris because she's shaking her head.
I've been reading books for about a good 8 to 10 years now. Did not enjoy it during school, but I was fortunate enough to, one day at work, somebody left a book for me to read, and it started my whole reading obsession. Yeah, now I stalk all the authors, so y'all just be careful when y'all meet me, because I won't let you go. Just letting y'all know.
That's good. Good to know. It's good to know when the stalkers just come out and say it first thing.
Yeah. I'm cute and cuddly, though. So,
Oh, thank you. How about you, Anita?
Hi, I'm Anita Kelly, and I'm going to put a plug in unashamedly for my podcast called Let's Talk About Books, Baby, where I've interviewed a lot of LGBT authors, but I started reading LGBT, specifically lesbian fiction, when I was a baby dyke, and then kind of got away from it for a while, and then kind of got hooked up with this person called Radcliffe. I saw one of her books and started, and started really reading lesbian fiction again, and that was quite a few years ago, and so I'm hooked again.
Awesome. Maria.
Let's see. I've read it all my life since I was young, but I didn't discover women loving women fiction until I'd say about maybe 5 years ago. It wasn't that long ago, just before I started going to GCLS conferences, Golden Crown Literary Society, and similar to Anita Kelly, I started off with Radcliffe and some other authors, and reading Georgia Beers, Melissa Braden, and I just fell in love. And I was floored that it even existed, and just been really happy to be really involved with GCLS along with Chris. We're fellow directors on the board of directors, and it's just been wonderful getting to know the authors and really being involved with everything. So.
Awesome. Thank you. And lastly, from Between Two Guitars, Allie.
I feel like the rookie here. I didn't really get into Bold Strokes until about 4 years ago. I was living in LA and just hating my daily commute. It was about 3 hours total. And I was running my playlist into the ground, just super bored. And I thought, well, why don't I just start listening to some books? And listened to this one mystery, and it was good, but it didn't quite hit the mark for me. And then I thought, duh, I could be listening to lesbian romance on my way to work. That would probably be a better use of my time. So I Googled, I think, top lesbian romances out there, and Radcliffe's Fated Love popped up. So I gave it a shot, and kind of changed my world,
Well, I've often thought that when I'm reading or listening or watching something, and I'm like, this needs a sarcastic lesbian. So yeah, I can see why that'd be everybody's go-to now. Well, let's jump into our questions. So, how do you choose what you're going to read? You people who read a lot. Is it the author? Is it the synopsis? Is it the cover? Is it the publisher? What is your first, you're like, I want to read a book and I'm going to go for Maria. We're going to start with you.
Of course. So a lot of what I choose to read first, it comes from the authors themselves. I follow their author pages, and as soon as they say, hey, everybody, this book is coming out in a week or today or whatever it is, I'm usually really excited about it because when I follow their pages, they've usually been talking about the book, and so it gets me really pumped up for when that book is going to be released. And so that's usually my first go-to is the authors themselves, and that they're going to be releasing their books. And then other than that, I look at the book covers, things like that intrigue me if I'm not as familiar with the authors. Go to authors list. I listen to Anita Kelly's podcast quite a bit, and just getting to know the authors really helps me. I kind of gain a closeness to the authors, it seems like, and it makes me want to read their books as well.
So when you say pages, do you mean like websites or like Facebook pages or Instagram?
Yeah, Facebook, Twitter, social media pages, social media accounts, whatever you want to call them.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, she looks a little bit to Anita Kelly. So Anita, who do you look to?
So I think that I've checked out most of the LGBT publishing houses, and read, like at least one book from each, if not more. And I know, and I think that's how I choose books these days, is I know that when I pick up a Bold Strokes book, that it's quality work. I don't have to second guess that. It's a given. And so I think for me, Bold Strokes is always like my first go-to. And then I look at, there are some authors that I fall back on. Like I love books about horses and women. And so like D. Jackson Lee is one of my go-tos, and Andrews and Austin. But I also love, I have other favorite authors like Radcliffe and Carson Tate. So I know that when I pick up one of their books, it's going to be quality work. And I don't think that I've ever really seen a really bad cover from Bold Strokes. Like it's always like their covers are great. They really produce quality work all the way around.
Nice. Yeah, I noticed the thing about horses. Whenever you're showing books, if you have one with a woman and a horse right up front, people are always going to stop.
Yeah. What lesbian doesn't like a cowgirl?
And motorcycles.
There you go.
Yes. All right, Allie, how about you?
I'm definitely sort of author loyal. Rad was my first love, so I'm always going to check out her books. But I really kind of go by feel. I get in the mood for a trope or plot, and I just kind of dive in and look. It doesn't really matter who the author is. I also go for covers too. I do a lot of visual shopping, just kind of browse the page and see what sticks out. I kind of like everything, so whatever grabs my attention. But often it's a feeling. It's a particular story that I want to read.
Cool. All right, Chris, with your enormous picture of books behind you.
Okay. Well, this isn't my bookcase. Sorry, G. Jackson. But I wish it was. I really wish it was, because, I would never leave my room, never go to work. So if anybody who wants to take care of me so I can do that, I am more than willing to listen to what you got. But for me, it's kind of different things. I'm not necessarily publisher loyal, because there's always a great books someplace. So yes, the great books come out of BSB. There's also great books that come out of other publishers like Bella, Sapphire, things of that nature. And I know I'm missing a whole bunch of ones, and I apologize in advance for that. When it comes to covers, and again, I'm going to maybe offend somebody, but I always like the covers that are not so graphic novel in nature. I mean, that look actually realistic people, items, things of that nature. But that's just my particular take about it. But one of the big things that draws me to a reader, to a book, is that, and I know we can't do that right now, is if I'm able to meet them in person. If I'm able to go and meet them, let's say we did at GCLS, or if they have some type of book launch that is near me, or they go to a book club that is near me, and they're able to attend, and I'm able to get that autograph, then that's going to, so if it's a book that I'm not familiar with or an author I'm not familiar with, I'm more apt to go buy that book, go see that author, give that author a chance, and then also that very personal connection with them, by being able to meet them.
Yeah, authors like that too because it gives us a chance to schmooze you, and then also lie to any questions that you might have. Like if they say, "Does your book have this?" Because I really love this, you can keep a straight face and go, "Yes, yes, it does." Full
You
of
wouldn't lie
horses.
to us, Barbara, would you?
Would I lie?
Not to
No,
us. Who?
no, no, never, never. I've never lied in my life. Um, so let's talk about everybody's. We talked a little bit about covers, and we might go into that a little bit more later. But let's talk about your favorite genres, your favorite tropes, and why you have those. Maybe when you developed your love for, say, romance or the friends to lovers trope, or any of the tropes. And who haven't I picked on first? I haven't picked on Anita first, so Anita's going to go first.
Okay, so I think I I like to read as a form of escapism, and I'm a psychotherapist by day, so I deal with a lot of heavier life issues. So I love reading romance because it is such an escape, and I love a slow burn. I think Aurora Ray does such an awesome job of that. And yeah, I think I also like intrigue, but not not too much where it's painful. That's just too everyday for me.
All
That,
right,
that's what
awesome. How about you, Allie?
I really like romantic suspense. I like little danger with my lovin'. And I think that's just from growing up watching action adventure movies and loving them and waiting for the romance and thinking that's it, kiss in front of an explosion, that's lame. So I really like those. I like sort of the thrill along with it, but I also like your typical medical romance, and I'm really into those right now. And if I want something maybe a little fluffier, I'll go for the, I don't know, friends to lovers, or maybe something that's a little more fun. But in general, I'm going to go for the action or the rock star. Maybe maybe you can guess why, but
No, I have no idea. Chris, what about you?
Uh, I'm more of a romance, no matter what necessarily the trope is. Um, I may kid around a lot, but people are surprised that I am so warm and cuddly. I love romance. What can I say? People don't take me very seriously because I do tend to be very silly. But when they find out what I read, they're like, "What? Not you?" But I have a very, very special place for Carson Tate's books because being from Dallas, I love being able to see the city in a different light and recognize places that I've been to. And so that always puts a different twist on it for me. So like, oh, I didn't know about that seedy side of Dallas, even though I've lived here all my life. And she does it in such a great way. The same thing with once I started reading the Radcliffe series on Provincetown. I love now going to be able to go there and see, oh, I read that part and that's where this happened. And so it's not necessarily specific tropes, but it's just a different feeling that I get for the different books.
Okay. How about you, Maria?
Kind of a combination of what everyone has said here. I love slow burn romances. Elle Spencer does such a fabulous job with her slow burns. And I really love intrigue, basically romance, but intrigue. Radcliffe is who I fell in love with first with that. Jerry Hill is really good with keeping me on suspense, as well as Carson Tate, and all of those. So all of the intrigue that comes along with that. And I love office romances. But I think it's more, for me, I kind of switch a little bit. It's more about the writing. And so if I know that author writes really, really well, I kind of gravitate more to who's writing it, or if the topic itself is intriguing. So I'm not as trope specific, like Chris was.
I'm hearing that romance, y'all like it just a little bit. What would ever get you to go outside of a book that's part of your that's not one that you're like, this isn't a book that I would normally gravitate to? Would there be like a cover, or is there any time that you picked up a book, it wasn't what you thought it was, but it really surprised you by how much you like it? So any kind of those stories that you can tell us would be great, so we can figure out how to sell more books to you. So tell us about that, Allie.
Yeah, I think that's going to have a lot to do with the cover. For me, like I said, I sometimes just want something to read. I don't know what it's going to be, and a great cover, whether it's really colorful or just well done or clearly conveys what the genre is, will probably at least get me to click in and look at the description. And if I'm feeling it, it doesn't really matter what the trope is. But also reviews and blogs, and if something pops up on my timeline that's this is a great book, I'm probably going to check it out, and at the very least read the summary, whatever it is. So I'm kind of easy. It doesn't take much, just to give me a good cover and write a great synopsis, and I'm probably there.
Cool. How about you, Maria?
Yeah, I'm a big mystery fan, and that's, in any kind of, it doesn't have to be, a woman-loving woman author, but I would say the author themselves, if they were to write outside their genre, and I'm really familiar with that author and love their work, I would definitely follow them. And so that's what it would be if the author themselves wrote outside the genre.
Chris, is there a genre you don't read?
No, not anymore. No, but when I first started reading, I was truly romance through and through. Nothing of the intrigue except for Carson, because Carson's special to me. But I really wouldn't go out there. I wouldn't even go to sci-fi. And you know how I read your books, but I once read when Radcliffe would write the Midnight Hunter series with the where was I read her first one and going, I don't know, because it's not normally what I do, but I read it, loved it, and it's because of that I took a chance on your books, and I absolutely loved them, and I'm glad that I did. So that one is just really surprised me, because I wasn't what I thought of. I didn't think I would go for that, but I definitely do, and I'm glad that I do. So,
well, thank you for that. Thanks for taking a chance.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Anita?
Yeah, actually, the Midnight Hunt series came to mind because I just never have been into werewolves and vampires, and I never caught that bug. And then I read actually Nell and Trin's series, and that I enjoyed it. I was like, I really like this, and because I knew L.L. Rand was Radcliffe, I gave it a shot, read it, loved it, like absolutely loved it, and have read every one of them, which surprises me. And then also Missouri Vaughn writes some kind of, I guess they're like sci-fi kind of dystopian kind of books, and I didn't think I'd like that either, but she's just such a smooth writer that I really enjoy them, really, and that surprises me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Allie, did I already ask you this? Is there, okay, it's getting late. We're all getting a little tired. It's Friday. It's Friday night. This isn't even booze, so I can't even, I have no excuse. Okay. Anita mentioned liking happy, fluffy books. Some of you mentioned happy endings. You like the romance and things. Do you think that's at all influenced by the times that we're in, or are you always like, no, forget it, forget the hardcore stuff? And additionally, is there any plot or genre or trope that is just a hard no for you every time? Leaving out, of course, harming animals, which is everybody's hard no. So do you like the fluffy? Does it depend on the times? And is there anything that you're like, I won't ever read that? So everybody looks thoughtful, but Chris looks really thoughtful. So that's where I'm going.
That's hard for me. There's not really one that I'd say I won't ever read. And there was one book I thought I would never read it because of the subject that that it was around. Georgia Beers is 92 hours, I believe is what it called, around 9/11.
Yeah,
That was really hard for me because I lost my great grandmother around the same time. So that whole time frame was just not something I wanted to touch. So I put it on like the last book I would ever read of hers, and I finally read it, and it was a really good story, and it gave me a different perspective of what that whole time was. You know, it wasn't just all the sadness and the horrors and stuff like that, and it wasn't just the sad feelings that I got about my great grandmother passing, but it is a reminder that life does go on and does go on, and things came out pretty good for some folks who find themselves and things of that nature. And so that was a surprise. So that one was a hard no for me to ever read that one. And so that's about the only one that's been on my list.
All right, Allie, I'm going to remember asking you this time.
I'll make my answer more memorable, maybe.
Oh, no, it was fine. Don't do that.
Oh, man, I'm kidding. You know, I think it's interesting. I work in book promotion and marketing, and everything that we're hearing right now is, give me something fluffy. I don't want upsetting. I can't deal with it right now. And I'm kind of the opposite, actually. I do feel that a little bit. You know, I've been revisiting Georgia Beer's Junebug Farms series. Just, you know, sometimes you need the cute animals and the sweet love, but sometimes I need to lean into it a little bit. Sometimes I need to sort of get some tangibility to whatever I'm feeling, and I'll look for a book that maybe is a little angstier, is a little darker, to just sort of commiserate with whatever I'm feeling. Now, I'm not going to read a pandemic series anytime soon. That's too close, too soon. Maybe in a couple of years, but you know, I don't think it's always for me a direct correlation, but it often is. But maybe not always in the way that you would think. Sometimes I need the light and fluffy and the escape, but sometimes I need to lean into a little bit, figure out what it is that I'm feeling, what it is that I'm trying to get at.
I get that. I think right now most of the stuff that I'm reading is light and fluffy, but all the stuff I'm watching is like dark and atmospheric. And it's just something about like being able to purge through watching. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. Maria, are you a psychologist?
I am by no means a psychologist. I'm an empath. I like to. I feel like I feel what other people are feeling sometimes, but I will say that there was one time in my life where I said, why does there always have to be a happy ending? Not one time, but one time I realized why there needs to be a happy ending. And I watched a movie, and I think it was called The Professional. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a French actor who was playing a role. And I'm so terrible with names, but there was a younger girl in it, and who's very famous right now. I just can't think of her name right now. If anybody could jump in with that. But anyway, the main character died at the end, and I was devastated. I was, a teenager, and I couldn't function that day. It was terrible, and I understood why they usually want to at least not kill off the main character and just try to have some kind of happy ending in those movies. So there's not really a genre or was it a genre or whatever it was? There's not something that I won't read or stay away from. I think if it's interesting and if it lends to even something that I can learn from, let's say if it's talking about really difficult topics, and I feel like maybe I'm just really interested in seeing the other side of things, or maybe they'll have something profound to say about it. That would be, why I would still want to read it. And then I'm trying to remember the second or third thing. I can't remember the other part. There were three parts, and I did.
There was. Do you like fluffy during hard times?
Oh, right. No, I'm kind of I like to have different experiences, and if it's sometimes I want to feel what I'm feeling and read what those kind of things if I'm feeling down, or the opposite. I want to feel a little happier, so I'll go for the who I know writes more of the happier type of stories. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Thank you. Well, Anita, we know that you like the happy, fluffy stories, but is there anything that you're like that? I will not read that ever.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I will not read horror. I don't like horror movies. I don't like horror books. I like suspense, and maybe some psychological thrillers. But if there's like any ounce of horror in them, I'm like, no way. It just and I think because I feel too much, like it just doesn't feel good. And I think sometimes, and recently I was reading this book, and I don't even know that the author knew that they were talking about child abuse or writing about child abuse, but the adult like just slapped the child across the face, and I was like, this is not okay. This is but I think the author thought it was okay, included it in the book and didn't really address it. And so things like that, that upsets me. And I don't want to be upset when I read.
Right.
And the things like, and I think about, was it Dorothy Allison's Bastard Out of Carolina?
Yeah.
That was a hard read for me. It really was. It was tough. It was good. It was necessary. And yeah, it's a part of life. But it's just hard. It's really hard. I think I'm too sensitive, and I don't like to see other people hurt, other people feel hurt, and I'm also too codependent. I want to make everybody okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so those kind of things. And I don't necessarily have to, like what's going on in the world doesn't have to influence what I read. It depends what it is. Like, maybe if it's a good thing, that might be, but like some of the things right now that are going on, I don't really need to read about it because I'm living it,
That's true. Yeah, I'm also not going to read anything with pandemics in it for a while, but I'm a huge horror fan, but I'm dead inside, so don't worry about me. So let's take a couple questions. We got a couple questions from the gallery here. D. Jackson Lee wants to know, what social media do you consult most when looking for news about new books coming out? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Maria talked about this already just a little bit. But Maria, do you have one that you're like, this is my go-to?
Usually it's between Facebook and Twitter. Yeah, but mostly Facebook because I don't know how to multitask and I know to go to one place.
Yeah, that's always nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Allie?
I'm kind of one of those obnoxious millennials. I'm on everything all the time. Can't get off my phone. But I think probably Twitter is where I hear about a lot of books that are well followed or well reviewed. Lots of like book blogs that I follow on Twitter there. But for new releases, it's probably the publisher's page itself. And actually Instagram lately has been big. That sort of bookstagram explosion that happened a few years back. There's quite a bit of good stuff there, just following some hashtags. So I think it depends on whether I want a new release or whether I'm sort of open to whatever it is that's out there.
That's cool. How about you, Anita?
So I think my go-to is Facebook and Instagram, probably more Instagram these days. I have to admit, I still really haven't figured out Twitter. So, yeah, I would say between those two.
Oh, awesome. Okay. How about you, Chris?
I tend to go more Facebook. I get the newsletters from a couple of different publishers, but I do like Facebook, and I especially like it when I see other authors promoting other authors. Mm-hmm. That means a lot to me because who says they have to? At least I don't think it's in y'all's contract. If it is, don't tell me, because I'm just thinking the world of you because y'all are doing it. So I like to see that, and so when I see the authors promoting each other, going, fabulous story, you'll like it, and this and that, I would want to go see that. I want to read that. That goes on the list automatically because these are some of the authors that I read religiously, and if they're suggesting this book, then it's something that I really need to consider.
Well, we do bribe each other pretty heavily.
Oh,
who's
don't
gonna
tell me
put
that.
who's gonna put what out? Yeah, yeah. You'd be surprised who's the most expensive. I think that would shock all of you. Yeah. Okay, Susan Jellinger wants to know about how many books do you read in a week or in a month? So really quick calculations in your head there. Who's got some math for me first? I think Anita, I can't even see her face, so it looks like she's ready.
Okay, so I'm thinking I probably read at least 2 books a week, if not more, maybe more. And in a month, I don't know, it comes out to maybe 8 or 9 sometimes. Yeah.
Well, you're a reviewer, so I imagine you're just book.
I do, and I do some proofreading for Bold Strokes too, and so yeah, I'm busy. I like it though.
That's good. How about you, Chris?
Well, I have the new books that I'm reading. Those average out to about 2 or 3 a week. But then I also have my going list of books that makes me feel warm and fuzzy, and certain areas of the house that I go to. And so if I'm in that particular, I'll pick up that book. So really, if you count all the books that I'm reading, I'm probably getting a good about 7 books a week.
Wow.
In some form or fashion, whether it's just rereading an old one and just going to the different areas, or because I really don't work. I just sit in front of the computer pretending, but I really don't work.
I love that idea of just leaving your favorite books around the house. So wherever you are, you can just pick one up and be like, okay, I really need to read me some this right now. That's awesome. I love that. Okay, Maria, how about you?
Okay, my eyes can't move as fast as Chris. I'm about a solid 3 to 4 books a month, about a book a week. Sometimes I skip some weeks because I'm quite busy, but there are times I kind of go in spurts. Like I read all the books all the time, and then my eyes may need surgery, so then I slow it down to about 3 to 4 a month.
That's really cool. Allie.
I'm listening to these responses, and I might be a little bit of a psychopath, but I take a little bit longer because it occurs to me that I am reading an ebook by Emily Smith. I'm reading a paperback concurrently by Radcliffe, and I'm listening to an audiobook by Georgia Beers. So I don't think that's something I've always done, but recently, maybe with what's going on in the world, I just, kind of sensory overload. I need all of it. But I think because of that, it's probably more like, I don't know, two a week. If I stick to a format, maybe it's 1 a week. But yeah, right now I just realized I'm kind of all over the place.
Well, if you're reading those or listening or whatever, kind of on top of each other, do you ever like dream or anything, or get them all mixed up into one huge, remarkable story?
Wouldn't that be a dream? No, not so much. Surprisingly, they kind of live in their own space, and they sort of hold their own. It's not something I would have expected to work well, but it's been working well, and they kind of suit themselves to a particular mood I might be in. If I'm cooking, maybe it's the audiobook, or if I'm hanging outside, maybe it's the paperback, I don't know, but they tend to stay in their own lane.
Awesome. That's good. I think you're paying far more attention than I can. Susie Clark says, hi everyone, it is critically important that we authors hear what you are saying, so everyone be very proud of yourselves there. But she also wants to know, does swag like t-shirts or mugs lure you into reading a book? This would be, I guess, probably either meeting somebody in person and seeing what they have to offer, or seeing a giveaway on their page, or whatever, offer or not offer. Anyway, how you like your swag, Maria?
I know when I go to the GCLS conferences, that's how I found out find out a lot about books that authors that I don't know about. So we get a little swag bag when you come in, and you a lot of authors have like bookmarks or what have you in their thing, and that actually it does intrigue me to try them out. So yes,
Cool. How about you, Allie?
I'm sorry, what was the question? I zoned out.
Are you ever into swag? Does swag ever get you to pick up a book you would normally pick up?
I would say it's the other way around. I wouldn't say that swag leads me to a book, but I would say that a really great book might lead me to the swag. If I get really, really into a book, I want to rep that author or that book around maybe. But yeah, I can't say that I've ever been led to a book via swag, but it could happen. Could happen. Yeah.
What about you, Anita?
So yeah, I am kind of old school. I love to pick up a book. I do, have an e-reader, but I don't know. I like so the bookmarks I think are really cool. But also one time it was a while ago now. I think it was Bold Strokes had flash drives that were like little books. Those were awesome. Those were adorable. So that was my favorite swag.
Awesome. Chris, I know you like some swag.
Yes, I do. I would say that the one best swag that got me to buy a book is having at a GCLS event, Annette Mori had these panties that had different covers of the books they had on the panties. And so if you got the book, you could end up getting one of the panties. And so I ended up getting two panties. That just shows you how much I paid, how much I bought over there at the table. And at that conference, I tied those panties to my backpack because I always carry a backpack whenever I go anywhere. And those panties were making its rounds at the DCOS event. And I showed them panties off.
That's good. I don't know how you'd use that for promotion. Any other time, if somebody said, "What are you reading right now?" and you reach for the button on your pants, it's just not a good idea. Yeah.
I still have them to this day. I still have them. They're for a couple of years ago, but I still have them.
I'm glad, and I think you should pull them out occasionally for like a conversation starter, especially if you're using them like in place of a handkerchief or something, and you're just like,
no. They're put aside because I have the shirts that I get autographed. I put them aside, and that does just a little something special from the conference that makes me remember it.
Yeah,
I don't get used in any way, shape, or form.
You usually, you bring a shirt and have people sign it. You should just buy some underpants or a gigantic bra or something and have everybody sign that. And then that
I'm not sure I can get away with asking everybody to sign my panties. My wife might have some issue with that.
There's one way to try. Find out. Find out is to try.
I'm sorry, it's your fault.
Yeah,
just go with the bra and panty set.
Yes. Yes.
Get enough author signatures.
Coordinating colors. Yes. Yeah. Do you want to sign the top or the bottom?
I say it's the next auction item coming up for the next GCLS, Maria. That's what we're going to do. It's the next auction item.
It'll be Florida. It's too hot to bring a t-shirt.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Like wear this for the next time we have Pride after the apocalypse is over. You're going to need something to wear. Isn't it? So Chris and Maria already talked a little bit about meeting people in person. And they both are on the board for GCLS, so they're always at GCLS. They like meeting people in person. How about Anita and Allie? Do you like going to like events where a bunch of authors are, or you're like, stay away from me and write in your cave and leave me alone? Anita?
So it depends. I've been to GCLS and it was fun and interesting. And I think I talked about this on one of my podcasts. Like I always think it's kind of weird. Like you meet people through social media, and you have this relationship with them through social media. But I personally cannot transform that to real life because it's very different. Like, you don't have that relationship with that person in real life, and so it's kind of weird to take those to like conferences and stuff, and it's just different. So and I don't know, I have a problem with that. And so but I used to work at college, and so I would actually have authors come and do readings at the college for the kids, and so that was always fun, and it was fun to meet them, and so yeah, and I like to talk to authors and hear what they have to say, and get to know them a little bit more, and I mean, I like to get inside people's heads. So what can I say?
Well, now we're all looking forward to meeting you. Hello, I'm Anita. I would like to see inside your head, please. And we can say, do you mean in a psychiatrist or in a serial killer kind of way? Because either way,
Definitely not serial killer.
we're not giving you the panties. Either way, that's not going to happen.
I don't want the panties.
Okay, Allie.
It's a good question. When I was living in LA, I was working in television, and so through work, I was going to big conferences all the time, things like, Comic-Con or whatever it was, and it's so much sensory inundation that it's really hard to sort of make those connections with people. And so it kind of turned me off a little bit, and I would go because I had to, or because, it was free or whatever, but they kind of turned me off a little bit. And then when I moved, pretty soon after I moved, Bold Strokes was at the Virginia Book Festival, and I'm in North Carolina. And so I thought, why don't I just go check it out? Some of Radcliffe's books had been really pivotal to me at that point, sort of working through that transition of leaving Hollywood and et cetera, et cetera. And so it felt right at the time. It felt like it was the right thing to do. And so I went up there, and it was a smaller group. I think it was D. Jackson Lee and Radcliffe, like I said, Sandy was there. And it was sort of that smaller, more intimate setting where I could sort of speak with everyone and have real conversations about real issues. At the time, I was coming off of the fallout of, if any of you guys are the 100 fans and about Clexa.
Oh my God, yeah.
Right, so I was sort of dealing with the fallout of all of that, and Rad and I happened to have a really great conversation about representation in media, and that was the connection. That was the type of conversation that really meant a lot to me as a reader, rather than maybe say table hopping, although I can't really pass judgment because I haven't done it in a literary space. But to me, it was sort of those more intimate conversations where you can really understand why your favorite author is writing and why they write what they write and how they write and what their motivation is. 'Cause, a lot of times a writer's motivation for writing is often your motivation for reading, right? So it's a really special connection, I think. So for me, it definitely pivotal, definitely has weight, but I think it depends on the setting and the situation.
I think you're right there. Those enormous conferences can just be overwhelming. Though I would recommend GCLS too, just because it is a big conference, but it still has that feeling of intimacy. Just because so many people know each other, and everybody smells like warm brownies. So I think that's what really makes it great. Chris and Maria, would you ever go to a gigantic conference like Romantic Times or RWA? I mean, just for the teeny sliver of lesfic that they have, or are you like, screw it, I want to stick to my lesfic, my buds? Chris,
I'd go.
she's
I'd
ready.
go.
Buy her a ticket, okay?
Yeah, I mean, you just never know what you might find and what you might read, get interested in, and come across. I'm not going to be the one who's going to like, well, no, only 2 people are there that I know. No, I'm all about meeting people, getting in their business. Let's go.
Okay, it's between you and Anita jumping into people's heads there. All right, Maria.
Yeah, I would definitely try it. I know I I will say I've been to one Comic-Con and one was enough. One was enough. Parking alone was not fun. There's so many people. I just felt like I was gonna catch something. Anyway, so it was okay. I really love that's why I was really surprised with how the atmosphere was at GCLS, because I thought it would be another Comic-Con, but it was fantastic. You get to really talk with the authors there, and I sound like I'm plugging GCLS, but that's just been my life for the last 5 years is being with them. So, but you really get to know, you get to meet the authors in a more intimate way. But I would love to go to like the mystery writers, whatever they have going on, their association, or I'd love to go to RWA, Romance Writers of America. That one. I just want to sit in the room of all the Lammies. I just want to be in the room that night. Just be invited to that event. So
That is a fun time. Anita, do you have something you wanted to say, or you're just?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I totally agree. GCLS is such an open and inviting, and like everyone's just really friendly. And my first conference I went to, Beth Burnett, she just made me feel so comfortable, and was just so open, and it was nice. It really was, and I think everyone there it's just kind of like family, and just from a reader's perspective, they really were really inclusive of all the readers, including them in everything that was going on.
So I think I can guess this answer for all of you, but I want to see if I'm right. D. Jackson Lee says, if you saw an author you wanted to meet, would you feel comfortable just going up to them and starting a conversation? Maria.
I'm just gonna go off of my actual experience, and I was hyperventilating and sweating and just telling myself to calm down and to act like a human being, but I did. I did. I went up and I said hello, and I don't remember what I said after that, but I did do it.
So you did it, but you wouldn't say you really enjoyed it. Yeah. All right. Ali, you said that you had a conversation with Radcliffe. Did you go up and start that one, or did she?
I think I did. It's kind of a blackout moment, to be honest. You would think that sort of being in Hollywood, I would get used to being starstruck or, whatever it might be. No, that never happened. I never acclimated. I always shake like a leaf. But I think that it sort of depends on the author. It sort of depends on what you have to say, or what that moment is going to be like if you don't do it. So, my partner was sort of like pushing me that entire book festival to go walk through the door, do it. So believe it or not, I'm fairly shy. So I think it depends on the situation and who it is, and maybe the vibe that I'm getting.
Oh, I definitely understand there. I haven't been able to go to one of my, say hello to one of my TV crushes at any of the cons, because the last time I did, I yelled something like, marry my face, or I really like the way you everything, or something like that. Something just mortifying, where your brain just decides to take a vacation.
Yeah.
Chris, I know you've done the same thing.
I probably have, and just blocked it out of the memory. It's just like, I would say the very first time that I went to an event, whether it was a book club or some type of conference, I was a little shy because I didn't know how people work, and not everybody's okay with my kind of personality. So I just kind of try and lay back, because just kind of feel everybody out. But after I figured out where everybody was, it was off to the races. I started grabbing other people, saying, who did you need to find out? Who did you want to talk to? I don't know, but I'll go find out a way. And let me go introduce you. That's what I do now. Now they wish they didn't know me, I'm sure.
No one wishes that.
Hmm.
Yes. All right, Anita.
So I think I usually don't have a problem approaching people and starting conversations, but I think so. What I've found is sometimes authors are more introverted. So when you approach an author, I feel like I have to kind of lead the conversation and have something to say, or it might get awkward. Not always, right? Not always, but it could. And timing is everything also. I remember one time I approached an author and she just totally blew me off. And, you know, when I look back, I think, yeah, maybe she was in the middle of something that, you know, I don't know. But, yeah, so, but, yeah, I don't have a problem. And most people are great. And
You're right. Most people are great, and you never know if somebody has like a social anxiety disorder or something that they're dealing with, and you're like, okay.
yeah, that's true. And actually, I'm the opposite. My wife will be like, usually, don't approach them. Don't, you know, like, and I'll be like, no, I'm going to go say hi.
Yeah, it's always nice. I think a lot of us are like that. We're like, oh, we'd happy to say hi to someone, but we've got this panic-stricken chipmunk in the woods sort of face on that nobody wants to come up to us because we're like, I would never start a conversation with you. All right, and there's Sandy. It's ready to cut us off.
Here to cut you off.
Oh,
I just want to
Don't
say
worry,
thank you to all my panelists and all the lovely people for being here today. Take it away, Sandy.
Thanks for being here, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.